History's greatest and most iconic monsters are hardly ever just monsters, but rather deeply insightful metaphors which examine the human condition and transcend their physical depictions, oftentimes mirroring the qualms and social anxieties of the culture in which they are born. The word monster is derived from the Latin word monstrum, meaning unnatural or abnormal, yet simultaneously marvel or miracle. This inherent contradiction provides an interesting explanation for mankind's fascination with the beauty in monsters. To be abnormal is to reside outside the parameters of what society deems as normal, and those who occupy this space are classified as the other. But what is the other? The other is any individual relegated to the outgroup by not belonging on the basis of some fundamental difference. These differences are most often out of one's control, i.e., sexual orientation, racial or ethnic background, religious identification, etc. The other are perceived as not possessing some valuable trait shared by the in-group and, in a society, may have few or no legal rights, may be characterized as less intelligent or as immoral, and may even be regarded as subhuman. This dehumanization, the rendering of someone or something as less than human, breeds pity, and few are so pitiful as the Gill-man. The Gill-man, or creature from the Black Lagoon, was originally based on two mythical monsters known as the Sea Monk and Sea Bishop. Early concepts for the Gill-man also took inspiration from the Oscar figure, with a smooth, eel-like hide. This original creature was rejected and shelved, in case the need for a female counterpart ever arose should a sequel be made, in favor of Universal Studios' monster special effects and makeup designer Millicent Patrick's sketches. Patrick not only designed the creature, but aided in the execution of the suit as well. Two suits were used on set, one for underwater shots worn by Rico Browning, and the other for surface scenes portrayed by Ben Chapman. The suit itself was a form-fitting body stocking with an overlay of sculpted textured parts, colored a light moss green to pick up shadows. In order to bring the creature to life, a hand-pumped bladder mechanism was incorporated into its head to inflate the gills, and 10-pound weights were added to its feet to give it an unnatural way of moving on land. As it lurches toward its prey, it appears to glide. Universal Pictures' publicity department sent Patrick on a press tour to promote the film under the affectionate title The Beauty Who Created the Beast. However, the studio's own head of makeup, Bud Westmore, objected, ensuring he received credit for the creature's creation. As Patrick's reputation began to spark, Westmore fired her, stamping out any embers of what could have been a promising career. For more information on her story, check out Mallory O'Mara's 2019 book, Lady from the Black Lagoon, Hollywood Monsters, and the Lost Legacy of Millicent Patrick. According to the University of Michigan's C. Martinez, the creature or Gill-man can be described as an ecological monster, an ancient, natural organism far removed from human civilization. Typically docile creatures, the ecological monster only becomes hostile when its natural equilibrium is unbalanced by humankind. A cigarette is casually tossed into the water, and in the following scene, the men employ the use of retinone, a poison which ends up killing the lagoon's fish, to capture the monster. Martinez notes that the primitive nature of the Gill-man, in opposition of the tool-wielding humans, is what ultimately leads to its downfall. The Gill-man is demonized rather than simply dehumanized within the context of his film. He's portrayed as monstrous both in appearance as well as action, slaughtering indiscriminately, thus giving the audience a reason to fear him. However, the film is from a distinctly human point of view, which deliberately depicts the creature as an unsympathetic, murderous villain, rather than a disturbed animal defending its territory, which is equally plausible. He is noted as not being particularly malicious until he or his environment is intruded on. Attempts to establish contact by the creature are misinterpreted, and however harmless, are often met with violence. Martinez also notes, this problem arises in the presence of the opposite sex, where social rituals are highly accultured and difficult for foreigners to navigate. In these ways, the eco-monster is like an adolescent trying to figure out how to balance his or her animal instinct with unspoken social etiquette. The parallels drawn between the creature and pubescent youth are incredibly convincing when compared to The Shape of Water's Amphibian Man and its evolution of this concept. The latter film portrays a clear maturation of the love between beauty and beast, from one of temptation and obsession in the case of the creature, to that of gratification and adoration for his spiritual successor.
I always loved the idea of a Beauty and the Beast story where the beast didn't transform.
Both films contain a stylized depiction of metaphorical sexual intercourse in the love dance. The creature mimics Kay's movements playfully, curiously observing her as she swims on the water's surface in blissful ignorance. The music is what really establishes the horror tone for the scene, blaring the creature's signature tune whenever he's on screen, not letting the viewer forget the danger posed by the Gill Man. From afar and when silhouetted, Kay almost appears naked, further emphasizing the sexual undertones of their dance. His curiosity overtakes him as he gently pokes and prods at her legs. He is fascinated, instantly infatuated by the unwitting temptress. After becoming a little too close, she dives underwater only for the creature to retreat back to the depths. This creature's story is ultimately one of rejection. After giving into temptation, he acts on primal urges, unable to properly articulate his feelings for her, and thus his affection goes unmatched. Brilliantly portrayed by actor Doug Jones, the amphibian man in the shape of water is the post-puberty adult Gill Man. Designed as the Michelangelo's David of monsters, his form is one of naturalistic perfection, an idealistic marriage of man and monster. Guillermo del Toro's specific notes for his team were not to design a monster, but create a creature, a living organism. The amphibian man's brow is strong but relaxed, his figure muscular, intimidating yet beautiful, whereas the Gill Man's design is one of primal, predatory dominance, with sharp claws and armored plating. The amphibian man is one of elegance, a creature you could fall in love with. This film takes the more interesting themes of love and the other and brings them to the forefront. Love is formless until you find it. It is malleable like water, as the film's title suggests, and water permeates every aspect of its design. There are several depictions of the other represented in the film, which takes place in a particularly tumultuous time in Americana, one which placed heavy emphasis on the idealistic nuclear family. The film subverts this archetype, shifting the audience's perception of what a monster really is. Eliza is mute, Zelda a black woman, and Giles a gay man, all typical 1960s societal outcasts. In an interesting twist, Strickland, who in the original would have been the hero, is now framed as the villain, whereas the original monster longs to be human. The amphibian man seems to relish in its otherness, drawing others to him. The Shape of Water's love dance at first seems to reverse the original's roles. Eliza reaches for the Gill Man, and upon his touch, reciprocation of affection. She shies away, ashamed of her scar, and the source of her disability. However, learning to embrace her difference, she returns to him, meeting his love fully and equally. There is a mutuality between them as they embrace, literally surrounded by their love. Eliza takes pleasure in her newfound sexual gratification, and the amphibian man in her warm adoration. In a beautiful irony, through the other, Eliza can finally feel human.
When he looks at me, the way he looks at me, he does not know what I lack or how I am incomplete. He sees me for what I am, as I am.
Del Toro's Fairy Tale for Troubled Times is one of the best reinterpretations of a classical monster because it elevates the source material by re-evaluating what it means to be monstrous. Rather than present its characters in literal black and white, good and evil, The Shape of Water offers a more introspective story, which does not simply blur the lines of man and monster, but redraws them. Different though we may be, perhaps one day we may learn to love the other, and in turn, love ourselves. With the absolute failure of Universal Studios' embarrassing dark universe, the future of the Creature from the Black Lagoons franchise is in question. I would personally love to see a smaller scale, low-budget horror return to form for our fishy friend. But what do you think? Leave a comment and tell me if you think he deserves a reboot. While you're down there, why not leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this one? Thanks. See ya!